Hey, good afternoon, everybody. This is a live stream with Walter Nosad and Ralph and Marsha Ring. We do have a countdown going. We're taking care of some technical issues in the background, but be rest assured, we will start on time. Please have your questions ready. And I've already got a set of questions that some of you submitted last week during our live stream. I thank you guys very much. And guess what? Your questions are going to be at the top of the list. For everybody else, if you'd like to submit questions, please do so through the live stream. You can support this channel by using the super stickers or sending a donation, what have you, and that'll also help bolster your question towards the top of the list. Today we'll be with Ralph and Marsha for about 1 hour. If we go over that, it will be at the grace of those two because I want to honor their time and yours. I'm going to go silent just now until the countdown gets down to 0. I look forward to talking to you all real soon. All right, guys, just want to let you know that we will be going live in 1 minute and 5 seconds. I see that some of you are in. Welcome from Portugal. I see some people from India. Chime in. Let the rings know where you're from. Again, we'll be going live in about 56 seconds. Thank you for your patience. Once again, if you've got questions, pop them in now. If you care to support this channel, use the super chat feature and we'll get your questions towards the top of the list. Thank you very much. All right, hello everybody. Welcome to Search for Truth Reality. My name is Walter Noasat. I'll be your host today. Some of you joining the live stream may not understand who Ralph is, what he's all about. I'm going to briefly share his story with you. In a nutshell, Ralph was more or less hired by Otis T. Carr at OTC Enterprises in Apple Valley, California in 1959-1960, where their mission was to construct a circular foil craft. You see, Otis T. Carr, the founder of OTC Enterprises, didn't care for the term flying saucer. It's a circular foil craft, and their goal was to build this craft and take it to the moon. Ralph relays a story about boarding this craft, being selected by Carr with two other men to operate this craft. They were to focus on, I think it was aquamarine, Ralph can correct me on that, a color, which they did, and they instantaneously traveled at the speed of thought 10 miles downrange and back. So Ralph tells the story in more detail out there. I'm not going to go over all of it, but the purpose of this live stream today is to give you guys an opportunity to ask Ralph and Marsha Ring your questions. Last week you've submitted your questions. I have them right here, front and back. I see some of you here have started submitting questions as well. I'll grab those. And I just want to acknowledge that I see people from all over the world, from Romania, welcome. Maria, I see from New York City, Carlos. I've got from Sweden, Marianne, from Alabama, Lori Otto, from Irvine, California, another from Norway, and Namaste from India. Thank you all for joining us. I told the rings that you know, when I did this last week with you guys, like 500 of you guys showed up, and that was with no notice. So I'm hoping that we have a whole bunch of you out there ready, willing, and able to talk to Ralph and Marsha Ring, who are online just now. And without any further ado, I'd like to turn it over to Ralph and let him correct my horrible telling of his story. Ralph, it's up to you, buddy. What do you think?
You did okay, Walter. It's just it's kind of a story you don't hear every day, but it's not an aerodynamic thing, and it's not a linear thing. It's not a dimensional nuts and bolts idea. That's what people get when they want to put a craft together. They think they can do it like you put a car together, but it's totally different. You're using geometry, you're using fixed geometry in both auto details and so forth, but it's how you use them and the understanding that you have with the laws of nature, because you have to use them with the laws and not opposing the laws. So that's my dog in the background. And Mark, you want to say something?
Yes, Roger, and thank you for all your questions, and we accept that we can answer them all for you.
Well, we do our best. It's been a few years since I've been really active in nuts and bolts and so forth. I've been doing lectures and I've retired from that. I'm doing video, the Skype and Zoom, and we're in a more of a consultant position now, which is aiding my retirement very nicely. We don't have to be able to help people. We can.
All right, so let's dive into the questions. I want to honor your time. We're gonna go through this and give you about an hour, and then we'll be off. The first question is from the real Jake Lords. He asks, well, actually, he doesn't have any questions at all. He simply wants to give you and Marsha their blessings. So there's that. Karen Kinsley asks, in your opinion, are most inventors of advanced technology working with off-worlders and their knowledge?
A while back, I would say I didn't know, but now that I do know that we do have now a communication going on beyond our present state that used to be. So yeah, there's been a lot of off-world. The off-world beings can't do a thing for us. I mean, it's up to us. They can show you the doorway by giving you leading ideas to look into, and one of them is just who and what you are. You have to first realize you're a composite of everything that there ever was or is or ever will be. You're part of it. We're all a collective conscious, and once you understand that gives you a wide reference library to get your questions. As you can in any field, you find that the principle field with certain material structures, etc. But also when you look money to how you change the way of looking at it, the whole thing changes.
Well, when you see something that doesn't feel good to you and you want to change it, I just have to help me look at this differently. And usually, hey, let me see this differently. I do see it differently, and things are handled that way, in that way. I want to say something about other worlds, and we've been contacted and also told by some people that are in communication with the other world that they're watching us and they're supporting us, and that they will be there if we need help or if we ask for help. They are there. There's been one time when we left a conference that there were 3 tall white beings that came to the conference leader and actually addressed that Ralph would not be leaving the planet at the time.
Yeah.
That he would be finished with him yet. Or God wasn't.
Now I was having a problem, and
there were 3 whites that came to the conference leader.
Describe white.
They're tall whites from outer space, and they actually came to the conference leader, Paula Harris, and she talked to them, and she didn't know anything. Ralph was having some problems with his heart at that time, but she knew nothing of that. But they actually told her, don't be concerned about Ralph. They're not finished with him yet, and he will be here for a longer period of time. So, but recently we've heard from one of our friends. I'm thinking of in Chicago. No, not Chicago. Hardy. And he has said that some of the outer world beings are here for us, but they can't come into our domain.
None of their business.
And if we get into a problem or we feel like something is in the way of what we're doing, we can ask them to help, and they are here with us. So yes, we do have knowledge that we do have others being with us.
They really honor you looking into yourself for the answers, because they don't want to distract you from your ways of looking at things. You can stay on the same page and still get the help necessary, but it'll be in the way of telling you to know as much as we do. Some of it is consciously apparent, and some of it isn't, because we were created with a substance and the ethereal essence of everything. So we were given all the tools to run this so-called body, this vessel, a water vessel, machine, if you will, and given a computer, the brain, to take care of all the necessary things that go with running a body. So where was I?
Hey, can I ask you? You'd mentioned the tall whites. Could you share with us how that went down? How did you encounter them? Were you alone? Were you with other people? Did you see them in the physical and so forth? How did that come about?
No, the conference leader was the one that was contacted by the three beings, but she did say they were tall, white entities from outer space.
Oh, so you didn't actually see them yourself then, right?
Marsha and I at that particular time didn't see these beings, but a few members from the audience, along with the Paula Harris,
conference leader,
saw them. And I was having heart problems and told not to talk. The talk was down in I don't know, Laughlin or something. I can't remember.
Laughlin. Mm-hmm.
And
Nevada.
as I was told it was my turn, our turn, Marsha was with me, to talk, three big white orbs came over we were at the
Hacienda.
what, Hacienda?
What was it?
I don't remember. One of the casinos where they have these conferences all the time. And these three orbs came together and formed a heart, a perfect heart. And the people were there taking pictures of it. And that was the same time when we were talking about our. We didn't talk about the heart then, but.
Well, he was having the heart condition, and then the heart was over the casino, and there were pictures taken of it. And then Paula did tell us about the visitation from the tall white.
Right. Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for filling those details. I was just very curious, and some of the chats coming in like, good to know, and they wanted to know were they hyperdimensional, So I don't know. We'd have to ask Paula about that. I don't know that she necessarily mentioned whether they were in the physical or not, but just the same. Let's go ahead and move on. What are other sources of OTC X1 projects? And I think this question relates to pods and pod memberships and how people can get involved.
Yeah, we have a website. It's been going on for years and years. It's called Blue Star Enterprise. Blue Star Enterprise. And I am remotely connected to it now because our webmaster has taken over the forums and all the question and answer departments. But there's people from all over the world, engineers, physicists wanting to get in touch with somebody working with the invisible world, not the visible world. The invisible world is where all the punch comes from. That's where all your power is, because in the material world, that comes about by us, the beings that are called human, or the human part of us that we call beings. We are when we put together a thought and then project it, we are creating. That thought is a creation, and the results of that thought are spun out to infinity. So you have to be careful what you create. But we are the creators of this visible world, which really, if you get into physics, find out it doesn't really exist like you think it does. You think you're sitting at a table and you're touching a table and saying, well, that's real, and it is. It's third dimensionally, yes, it has X, Y, Z, or whatever you want to call it. But in another way of looking at it, and we call this what do we call it?
Well, it's an illusion.
It's an illusion, and you're looking at it with your realized. Your realized are what's referred to as the pineal gland, and so forth. So, and that in order to see things that are invisible, and we've seen quite a few in our life, Marsha and I. To bring in life, you have to change in reference to Marsha's idea of changing your way of looking at it. And that means shift gears to a higher or deeper way of looking at it. That seems to be in our childhood, well, that doesn't really exist. You're talking about the truth, because it doesn't really exist unless you think it does. And it's very hard for people to kind of grab that. But as you grab that, you're climbing a ladder of consciousness. And this consciousness will lead to physics and metaphysics. And you have to let go of all of this stuff after you learn them, throw them out, because they get in the way of the new stuff coming in. And then you get into a realm of mysticism. And mysticism is when you can identify who you really are to yourself. That's mysticism, because we are a consciousness that exists in the transcendental, the realm of being, in a word, spiritual being versus human being. Actually, we're living in two worlds. We're living in the spiritual and also physical world simultaneously. But when you start climbing for answers that are pertinent to advancing the ways and means of a civilization, you have to go into yourself. You have to go into your consciousness. Tesla, when he created something, did everything in Central Park. He put it all together. The dynamos of Niagara were all invented in Central Park, because he was putting them together in this altered state of consciousness, which we refer to as no, it's not. It's realize. When you're using your realize, which is equated to the pineal gland, then you can see things differently. I'll give you a brief physical example. You have two beings on the other side, one on each side of a table, and one is drawing a figure 6, and the other one on the other side drawing a figure 9. And they can, if left loose, raise their temperament in confusion or frustration or in anger, that this is a 6, it is not a 9. And they can get in a war over this. They can fight over it or anything else. But all you have to do is look at it with your realize, which sees it upside down or backwards, or go around the other side of the table and look at his 9, it's the same 6. Or his 6 is the same 9. And then you can get along and move on to progressive things will happen. You don't have to fight about it. And so that applies to building anything, actually. And that's what we used when we were working with. We just the car would tell us look at it differently, because if you look at it three-dimensionally, that's all you're going to get back. Is, oh, well, that's a bolt, or that's.
So, Ralph, this seems to address another question that came through on the chat here from Metamarcus I Am That I Am. He asks if you could provide practical application of natural law examples of practical application of natural law. What are your thoughts on that?
Practical application of natural law. Well, okay.
The bumblebee.
Well, the bumblebee, I'll get into that in a minute. But if, oh God, let me think. Well, if somebody, we have a scale that we were asked on a program called Washer Ring. It originates in, I think it's somewhere in Sweden or one of the foreign countries. And when we got done with our talk, the producers, people at the show, called us and asked if we'd talk to the children, that they wanted the children to hear what we had to say. And so we built a little scale so they could see what we were talking about, and it started with a belief system. That's the bottom of the scale. You have a belief system, but it consists of polarity, duality, up and down, left and right, on and off. That's a duality. And you have good and bad. Okay, well, as long as you're looking at something good and bad, that's what you're going to get. This is a good one, and that's a bad one. When actually, that's not altogether true. It's just an idea. So what you're observing is a thing, or a question, or a person, or there is no need to put an adjective on either side. But it's just a person expressing or being who they are. And if you instead of discernment, you use judgment. You're actually crippling your observation, because you can't see it. Once you nail it down to a definition, you won't be able to see who this person is, or thing is, or place. So and that goes from the belief system. You start there, and if you believe in, like in medicine or in science, you believe in something very strong, and you say, well, this is it. This is the end of the world. We've got everything solved. Somebody comes along with another belief system and puts yours down in third grade again, because they've got a better idea. So the belief system that we have here in the third dimension is a revolving wheel. It keeps like a merry-go-round or a parrot cage, keeps going around and around and around. Instead of evolving, you're revolving, creating the same thing over and over and over. We've had combustion engines now so long it hurts, where we've had ideas and getting things off the ground for years, from the Flintstones to the Jetsons. That was an old cartoon, but that was based on people, the Wright brothers and so forth, getting off the ground and doing things a little differently.
Ralph.
So then
Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Sure.
I was going to say, move on to the next. We're 30 minutes in, and we do have some more questions. I'd like, if you don't mind, if we can move on to the next ones. Didn't mean to put you on the spot there. That was probably one of the tougher questions about practical application of natural law. Did you have anything else you wanted to speak to that to wrap up that question?
Yeah, I'll wrap it up real fast. So you go from a feeling of belief to a feeling of knowing when you're asked, when somebody tries to say you're not hungry, or you're not sleepy, or you don't have to use a restroom. That goes to another category of in terms of reference to who and what you are. You are you know what you're doing. Nobody can tell me I don't have to go to the bathroom if I have to go. So that goes into your consciousness as a knowing. And then you go to the next step with the knowing that you know, which is like driving a car. Before you get to drive a car, you're scared to death of it, and you get used to it, and then eventually you're driving down the freeway, the car's driving itself, because you're thinking of a science project or what's for dinner, or it's all into a rhythm of its own. You don't have to worry about it. You've committed it to second nature, and that's your nature versus And then you go to another realm that you've got belief, knowing that you know, and then the next stage is mysticism, which you graduate to knowing nothing, knowing absolutely nothing, totally nothing, because totally nothing is totally everything, because there's only one massive collective consciousness, and that's us. So when you get to knowing nothing, you don't have to research anymore. You stop learning and you start remembering, oh, wait a minute, I used to do this when I was a kid or whatever. So you're progressing along a different frame of reference that will always reward your question with an answer if you let it. In other words, you say, oh, well, I don't know, but I'll get it, and you tap into your noodle, your pineal gland, or your consciousness, and you'll always get the answer. Maybe in a different way than you asked the question, but a more profound or simpler answer than you expected. So that equates to a higher state of consciousness where you don't have to do anything. Don't think, because every time you think, you're creating a pebble in the road for somebody that's creating. And so you can stop thinking, kick back and do nothing, and know that if you have something you have to get an answer for, all you have to do is ask, and it's done. Next question. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No worries. I'm sorry to interrupt. I just want to be able to honor your time and get to the rest of these questions. That was great. By the way, we're getting through the chat on here. Wise words. Yeah, so they're appreciating what you have to say, Ralph.
What was that?
The feedback. Hang on. All right, so the feedback on the chat is wise words. You know, people are happy with what you have to share.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay.
I'm glad, because a lot of people, I'm in the woo-woo category, known as the woo-woo man.
I think half your audience is probably in that category, so you're in good company, sir. Next question. This one, got a couple here from Words Fail Me, Bro. He asks, one, did you and Otis ever discuss extraterrestrials? And two, did you have an epiphany when you remembered the operation of the OTC X1?
Okay, first answer. When we were building the craft in the Apple Valley, well, Hesperia actually, down in the desert, we were about a half a mile off the road. I mean, we had a dirt road leading into our compound and so forth. And every once in a while, people, male and female, 2 or 3 people, would show up as we know come to be known as hippies. They would just come up, very polite, very nice, and they would ask us permission if we could talk and so forth. And they were very interesting people, because we could talk about simple things and look at them differently. And my God, we were seeing what we were doing. We were getting energized to look at it a little different way. So we thought they were weird, and we thought, well, geez, maybe we ought to incorporate some hippies here, because they seem. But when they left, we went out. We wanted to see what kind of car they were driving, or plane, or whatever. And when we went out, and we were a half a mile from the road, and there's nothing there but sand dunes. We were, desert, and they were gone. Within 30 seconds after they left the door, we were out looking for them, and they were all gone. So we don't know any more than that to tell you, but that's a fact, and that's happened over while we were building. They were there to guide us. We talked about it later, Carr and the rest of it. They were giving us pulses that would push our button, and then we'd look into it ourselves and say, oh, well, that's what that means. So they were helping us in the construction of the craft. It made things much more expedient having them there.
Well, I think that answers the question that was asked earlier about Karen had asked about advanced technology and working with off-worlders and their knowledge. It seems they were pretty much involved with you and OTC Enterprises in Hesperia, California as well. So the other part of the questions from Worlds Fail Me Bros is reminders. He wants to know about whether you had an epiphany at the moment you remembered the flight.
Oh, no, during the flight, actually, car, in a nutshell, car said, you're going to get on board, and this is the one with the faceted, that I think is another question that's going to come up, and crystal ball, and the fat, and what shot up from the bottom, I would equate warm. It just wasn't there. Lasers in those days weren't as popular as they are today. But he said, go in and sit down. I was asked by Carr to go along with these two engineers because Carr and I were, oh man, we were just so close in our concepts of quantum physics, if you will, if you want to call it that, or things looked at in many different ways. And we would go on for, we had gone on for days and nights exploring the universe together. But he said, go in and sit down with these two engineers and just get all thoughts out of your mind. Just go still, absolutely, totally still. Don't think. Just sit there and wait. Do nothing. And then pretty soon, the crystal started turning, and this light was coming through. And it went through the color spectrum really fast. Violet, but it stopped at the color aquamarine. And Carr explained later when we asked him about all this, he said what that was the engineers had gone down a few days before the actual experiment. And light language, and it equated to the color of aquamarine. So when this color came up, the whole inside of the craft is like what I remembered when I was diving on Guam in the crystal water, beautiful aquamarine. It lit up the whole craft, and then the next thing the three of us collectively knew, Carr said, oh, that's it, come on down for debriefing. And we looked at each other and it hadn't gone anywhere. Carr had briefed us that the mind and the body only separate if you think they do, because they're a unified field in themselves, and so when you do things that aren't in use every day, your brain wants to say, no, that doesn't exist to me. So you have to go above the brain into the mind space. The mind space is infinity. The mind and the heart work together 1,000 times faster than the brain, well, thousands of times faster than the brain, because instantaneous. And our flight was instantaneous. We, for the sake of answering questions, I didn't know how to answer questions, but I put it in a time slot so they could see when we left the base. We went off the pad and disappeared, and that was in about 3 or 4 seconds. When we got down range, and this came later because I didn't remember anything. I swore I didn't go anywhere, and the other engineer said we didn't go anywhere. Your idea of your body is a 3D image that because you're quiet, just stayed there and rested. But your mind went down space, down range, and came back instantly. And the way that happens is so simple. Most people misunderstand it and put it into linear time, saying, well, now you're going to go to Mars, it's going to take you so many light years. No, all you have to do, honestly, say this from multiple experiences that Marsha and I have done and are doing regularly on a regular basis, all you have to do is image it. All you have to do is think, feel it, feel it first and image it, and and all of a sudden you find yourself there. And I know it sounds, really far out, and it was for us for what, a couple of years. Now we're doing it on a regular basis. You change your destination from something that says, well, when you get there, it's going to rain and you won't be able to have the picnic, to it's going to be a wonderful day and the sun's going to be out and we're going to have a good time. That sounds, well, that's wishful thinking, but it's more than that when you're using your real eyes, because you're creating a picture without God, and you are the creator of that picture. So it has to be what you created. So when you get to the destination, we found wonderful surprises when we got there, because nothing's negative, nothing's not pleasant. It's all what we made it, because we're the creators. We create our own world, and so does everybody. Everybody does that. We do it all every 24/7. Everybody's creating their own world. So,
So it's important to create what you want to experience, and
yeah,
not the negative, not
Yeah.
anything that you don't want to.
and you eventually get back to when I say that we create these things, to instead of nonsense, which the brain likes to create nonsensical things, you have common sense. The common sense is when you're in communion with the consciousness that everybody has. We all have consciousness. Some of it is human consciousness, because that's all we want to think about is the ball game, the beers, or the hot dog. And the other consciousness is, man, I can't wait till I get to the Venus. I tell this picture, and I want, all that stuff. And all of this is true. There is nothing that isn't true in its own frame of reference. And that's a very important thing to remember, because like I mentioned a little while ago about the table being a table. Well, that's true in a frame of reference, but it's also it could be anything we wanted it to be by changing our way of looking at it. But it consists of energy. That's all there is. There is nothing but energy. I found out who I was when I was working in a lab tech in Costa Mesa, Advanced Kinetics. My buddy was on the electron microscope, and he said, "Come and stick your finger in here. I want to show you something." And I put my finger in, and I was shocked. I said, "My finger's not there. You got it. You're not focusing or something." Because all I saw was electrons and neutrons or whatever. All I saw was energy. And he said, "Take it out and look at that. Look at your finger, touch it, feel it, now put it back in." And it was the oddest feeling, because I realized, gee, I'm not who I thought I was. I'm energy. And that's who we truly are. And it depends then, from that point on, I started looking at everything differently, because I'm not just a human body. I'm a mass of energy. And it's changeable. I thought I can have a good day or a bad day. Just say what you want and you get it. So I'm ready for the next question if you want. I'm sorry. I want to put this on top.
I was muted there. I apologize. Can you guys hear me okay? I'm getting a bit of an echo. All right, so TK asked, what can we do in our daily lives to connect our mind to our heart? So, were you able to hear me okay? Can you repeat the question, Ralph, so people will hear I'm challenged with mute and stuff, so thanks.
The question?
Yeah, the question was, what can we do in our daily lives to connect our mind to our heart?
Well, yeah, and I said go to the zoo. I meant go to something that makes you feel very good. And I suggest, if you have a pet, sit down and have a space for that pet. Reserve 5 or 10 minutes with that. Hello, nice dog. You have a biscuit and you buy. You'll You have to feel love from the inside out. And Don, we have a border collie. We have a 7-year-old border collie. He's immaculately trained, and he trained himself for most of the stuff that he does. But it's incredible when you get in deep enough and they look at you with his eyes that are just love. They don't have any thoughts that we do that you might be a bad guy or anything. If you threaten them, they'll back off instinctively. But they don't. So using love for everything, that's the master key, the grand master key to solving the whole mystery of life is love.
I believe that if you feel good about something, you're feeling it in
Love.
your heart. So you're taking it and you're feeling it. Then that's combining the mind and the heart together.
You learn eventually to feel your way through life. Don't try to think it anymore. We wake up in the morning, any idea what we're going to do, and we used to wake up, got a list a mile long. I got to move along. Or we don't. We don't think about what we're going to do. We get up and
Ralph, can you back up a little bit? You came in, you fell off for the last 10 seconds or so. So you might have to, if you wouldn't mind repeating what you said momentarily.
Okay, well,
You wake
oh,
and then
when you wake up in the morning, don't try to think about what you got to do. That's a trap, and you're going to feel miserable all day long if you do that in one form way or another. Get up and start moving in the direction of, well, maybe the back door or something, and you'll be guided to know you got to do this over here. And then you get there, you feel, oh, I've been wanting to do this. I can do this now. I feel good about it. Always do things they're right to work on when you feel good about them. If you approach them when you're not feeling good, they won't work. So follow your feelings and get up and find out here's another way of looking at it. We've been trying to live our life, and that's been happening for 4,000 years. We've been trying to get somewhere, and trying never gets anywhere. It's just like wanting. Wanting will get wanting, and even hope is hope. You have to be in a state of mind and heart to get from point A to point B by the way through, and let life live you. Let your life anymore. Marsha and Ralph left the planetary system years ago because we decided it was easier to piggyback life. We let life do it. And those come by way of feelings. Well, God, I'd love to do this today. I've got the time to do it. And when you're doing that, you're in love with your work. You're in love with yourself. You're in love with the world because, oh, I've been wanting to do this. And now, so it's a feeling that expands and multiplies within you. And that feeling, now if applied to some other project that feels good, will blossom it. It'll never fail. If you do it right, it will never fail. And these are natural laws that are multiplying themselves. Okay, well, go ahead, Bob. I'm sorry.
Yeah, again, no apologies. Whoops, peek in there. No apologies needed, really, Ralph. This is all very good. If you're ready for the next question, we'll go on to the next one. All right, so the next question is from Bulvet Black. He asks, what should I study so that I may know how to build the craft similar to an OTC X1?
Well, the OTC X1 is built the way we build it. We were kind of, you might say, pioneers in our day. So we operated the best we could, and we had counter rotation like a figure eight. You know, you're going one way and another way at the same time in a figure eight, which is an infinity sign. So we had moving parts. We had our top wheel was clockwise and our rotating bottom wheel, if you will, I call it a wheel, was operating in the opposite direction, like fan blades, one going one way and one in the other way. Those were moving parts that created the effect of levitation and so forth. But
How would you build it today?
oh, but since we started, and this happened after I left CAR, a group of us, we were told never to, we were busted. They came in and took everything, but we were told never to contact each other again, and they had monitors on us, and if we ever, just all kinds of threats. And we ignored those for the most part and started a new group, or several groups. These later became what's known as pods, and they're all over the world now. We have pods in almost every country you can think of. And they're all volunteer people working in their garages or backyards, taking the time between and getting so tired you have to go to bed, but you stay up long enough to get into a spaceship. Then it what? then you I have these little memory blocks. I'm 80. I'll be 87 next week. No, 2 weeks from now. So, and I'm noticing these little things that they call them, what is it, dementia and Parkinson's? I don't think it's there yet, but we just completed 2 weeks of intensive bombardment from the family of kids. Lots of kids came down to see Grandpa and Grandma, and hundreds of scores of adults with them. And they had to stay in and out of our house and the motel that was next to us or down the road. So we've been inundated with lots and lots of different things going on and staying all night. We had one talk that lasted 12 hours. We never stopped. Remember that? Mm-hmm. So that's why that's my excuse for
getting back to how can you, your desire to build a craft is a start.
Yeah.
It's a start. And then you will be guided to different people that will be putting them together, and they're supposed to be coming out very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that what you?
Yeah. And if you're looking into, some references on what's happening in a spaceship, a circular foil craft, and levitating and teleporting, actually. Teleporting's not as mysterious and mystical nowhere as you think it is. It's quite simple. I now am fully conscious of teleporting downrange and back, and it only happened in a split second. But I've got full I can see the side of the hill where I was picking up the grass and the sticks and the stones and putting them in our pocket to go back. And CAR, when we said this is the end of the experiment, come on, we're going to debrief you. We said we didn't go anywhere because the three of us just sit in our chairs. We didn't go our body never went any place. And he said, I told you there's a difference in who you are and who you think you are. And who you think you are set there as what you call a body. Empty your pockets. And we emptied our pockets, and there were sticks and stones. And he said, well, where'd you get all that stuff? And I know nobody got on board because we were sealed in, and then it was over in just a matter of just a few minutes. The thing was over. But my clarity in seeing the whole experiment over came back to me about 6 months later. I started recalling it, and now I can remember. I can almost see it like a photograph. It's so clear. So, next question.
Okay, next question. Way to go. Let's see. So much stuff. All right, so Bulbid Black. I wanted to kind of touch a little bit on the pods on this, chime in about that since I ran one for like 8 years. It's just like what Ralph says. It's just you gather some people together, and the method I used was just for YouTube, and it was done passively. And over time, I managed to attract engineers, people from space agencies, international space agencies, other engineers, people who are donating resources and whatnot. So it's very doable.
Very, very doable.
Ralph mentions
Last mentioned
people from all over the world.
all
For
over the
me,
world.
I can't speak to that.
I mean, I can't speak to that.
I'm sorry, I'm getting a little echo here.
I'm trying to get a little echo
Anyhow, I'm
here.
just going to go ahead and ask the next question and move on. We
Move
can
on.
talk about that in another stream. So, all right, let's go on to this one from a kind of a secret pod guy who doesn't really want to be identified. He's been doing some work in his garage. He asks, when you push your finger through the craft, what did it feel like? Did we get to that question yet? I don't think we touched that one yet. What did it feel like pushing your finger into the craft, Ralph?
Well, it was the whole thing was a fascinating experience because there's the craft was sitting on a table and we were vibrating the craft, raising the vibrations of the craft. The resonant frequency is what we were trying to reach, to get out of the resonant frequency of 8.5 hertz, which is the Schumann resonance for the most all of us in our heart and the beat and the earth used to all be in sync, but it's split up now a little bit. And get into a sense of what? Oh,
There's half of you got sync in sync. Your vibration
Oh, yeah.
is the same as that vibration.
oh yeah.
And what did it feel like?
Oh, so when I put my hand in it, my brain, and here I'm at this point, and it's very important to me to explain this to people. My brain was telling me, you idiot, you can't do this. That doesn't exist. You do this. Well, I was doing it.
It was T6 aluminum.
Yeah, it was a good grade aluminum, T4 or something, T6 aluminum. It was good grade aluminum, and it was a thin, very thin aircraft aluminum. And I put my hand, first I touched it and it was solid. And I could feel the vibration. It's just humming very nicely. And I looked around at everybody and their hair on the sides of their neck and their face, and one guy's beard was trying to stand up. So we were getting the excitement from the magnetism that was being created. But when I put my hand in it was first it was like Jello, and then I put my hand in it. It was still like Jello, but I did not feel. My hand was in there. I remember seeing it, and so did everybody else. And I think we might have. I don't know if anybody ever took a picture of it, but it felt normal. Like, yeah, sure. So, and then when the engineer too, they were saying, wait a minute, I saw that happen. Well, how did that happen? And Carr would say, everything's energy. Change gears up to a higher state of looking at it, and you'll see that all you're doing is transfusing.
You're becoming one with it.
You're becoming one with the energy field, and when you're one with the energy field, you have the ability to change it, like the bumblebee. You know, I don't know whether if you've seen any of our videos, but they're still on YouTube. Ralph YouTube videos, but and there's one on the bumblebee. When I worked, when I was Auckland, there were engineers in the audience, and they wanted to know about levitation. And I said, well, that's simple. God levitates. Eventually, your fan blade long enough, and you'll see them disappear and come back into focus. If you measured it, they've lost weight when they're spinning. Well, that's now I lost where I was.
The bumblebee.
The bumblebee. He said, I was in the second story of Santa Cruz High School. I went to Santa Cruz. I was living in Santa Cruz, California at the time. In the science class, when the science was explained, bumblebees, now we're talking aviation here, but the bumblebees, they can't fly. They don't fly. And because they're not designed not academically, they're not designed aeronaically to do anything with the weight of their body and so forth. And when he told me that, I was looking out the window and I was on the second floor, and this big black bumblebee with little yellow wings around it was staring me right in the face. And I looked at it really, really close, and it said, "You came out of the woods where I learned about natural law, and now you got to go back to the woods because this guy, you got to honor him. He's going as far as he knew, but it's not anywhere near the way it operated. They don't swing. Once they decide to move from one point A to point B, their wings start vibrating, and it's like if you've ever heard of the didgeridoo, an Australian long pipe that they blow into, your voice, your vibrations you're creating in a hollow cavity, a tremendous amount of energy being moved. Well, the bumblebee, when he beats his wings, he beats them fast along the larynx. In his throat is a little a hollow tube like straw, and this is the cavity. And when you beat his wings fast enough, he reaches his surrounding, let's say, the Schumann frequency, 8.7 or whatever it is. He's freed himself from what's called gravity or the magnetic field. That creates a little circle around, just like the Earth, a circle of magnetic field. He creates his own field, and he levitates and moves through time and space very nicely. His, his own reality himself. I mean, there's no other way to explain it.
And that's how we can teleport.
Yeah.
We can become the one.
Yeah, I'll give you a brief one. I did this in law from Hawaii. Were there a lot of people? In fact, that's when I got invited to speak at the resident. I said, I'll give you a brief experiment here for you to do. I'm not going to do it for you. Now, you know you're sitting in an audience with lots of people. You can feel the air, and just take a look around or feel around where you're at. And now I'm going to just ask you to come to Hawaii with me. And now, can you see the white sands and the turquoise or aquamarine water and the coconut and half the audience right away says, "Oh yeah, I can see that. Yeah, what about it?" Well, that's because part of you is already there, because we collectively are everywhere at the same time. And all we have to do in the way of transportation going through time and space is to realize that and change point A to, instead of point B, it becomes A as well. And you teleport through that in nanoseconds, a billionth of a second. You can be there. And we're all doing this now. We just forgot that we do it. And now we got to get back to doing it again because the most and everything is antiquated compared to what the rest of the universe's way of doing things. So that's where I came in, and I wanted to see free and back to the travel and stuff at one time. And then we decided to compete with one another. Oh, he's got a bigger goal than I do, so I'm gonna. And then competition created eventually wars. They fight over, oh no, I want that land, and so you're creating a mess instead of a pleasant environment that you could live with. And that's back out of confusion and back to truth. We're living in a sea of lies. It's energy, but it's all falsified energy. It's created by the brain, and some of it to confuse you, some of it to fool you, but it's not true. But truth has been popping through now lately, and within a very short period of time now, I see truth coming back into our environment, because truth is the only thing that will multiply with truth and truth and truth. And everything you do is truthful. You don't have to worry about a thing, because every time you open your mouth, you're being truthful to yourself and everybody else. Right now, when somebody asks you a question, they say, "How are you feeling today?" And you say, "Oh, I'm feeling great." When they can see you got a gash in your leg a mile wide, bleeding, you created a lie. Well, yeah, but I didn't want to, Well, if you're truthful follow suit, because that's there's a principle in nature, and it's called multiplication principle in mathematics. It will multiply, 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 because you're the creator, and everything you create works because you say it does. And in your world, it will. It doesn't interfere, and you're not taking anything away from anybody else's world, because it's your world, and you know it inside. You don't always talk about it outside, because people are going to ask you to leave or put a jacket on you or something. So you don't, a lot of this stuff you don't talk about. But we're immortal. Webster and all those dictionary people that created the dictionary, they we have a soul, and a soul is acquainted to, in all of dictionaries I've seen, to the immortal soul of which and who we are. We're an immortal soul first, not a body, not a thing. Our soul is infinite and immortal and eternal. And this is a drop in the bucket. This 100 years here is nothing. It doesn't even exist on a time scale, because it's like a butterfly, here today and gone tomorrow. But we are experiencing it because we slow it down by thinking too much. And when Marsha and I went from point A to point B, we accelerate our thinking to it's already done when we get there. And when we get there, it's done. And if we thought about it, we'd have to put it, well, it has to do this. No, it doesn't. All you have to do is feel it, and it will happen. And then you have to have the patience, because right away your brain says, oh, that doesn't work. Just the same when I put my hand in the thing. The thing is telling me that's impossible. You can't do that. And then it happened. Another. Am I okay with this? Is this what you wanted, Walter? Well, we can go on for a little bit if the audience isn't tired of me already. That's fine. was like a crystal ball that you see in the old
Hang on,
days.
sorry, I was muted that whole time. You'll have to repeat the question. Dumb, dumb, dumb. See, that's what I get for following tips. Love you guys. I just have to remember. This question's about the crystal and what are the physical properties based on your memory? Was it round? Was it smooth? Was it square? Was it faceted? Was it natural? Or something else? What can you tell us about the crystal?
Well, in my day, we used to have ballrooms with the crystal ball with a light shining on it, and it was all faceted, little facets. The whole crystal was faceted. That's the way the crystal was that we had in the craft that time to use. And it was very, very, very shiny, very, very brilliant, the reflections of it. And it was that, how big? Oh, well, God, I don't know, probably feet across. Okay. Yeah, it was faceted. And, color was just brilliant, brilliant color. Uh, about all I can, but I don't remember too well.
But it stopped on the color of aquamarine and filled up the whole cab,
It
right?
didn't really stop. It kept going right up to where, God, it was all awful. And when cars said, come on down, we're going to debrief you. I, or I never went anywhere. I know I didn't, because my body stayed there. But my mind, or I am, the I am that I am is who I am. I'm a transcendental, and look up the word, you'll be surprised what it means. I and everybody else are transcendental beings, and I are both transcendental beings, meaning we operate from a different frame of reference. We operate from the mind that I keep forgetting that. See, we all of the beings on Earth. I'm going to put it that way. We already know everything. We already do, and now got to get credit back to the smart people that always said, "Oh, I know it. I know it all." They're telling the truth, but we realize we haven't realized it. We haven't had the experience and experience that are the difference between life and death. Because if you don't, you don't. It's not. If you haven't experienced using the restroom when they say you can't, then you can't say you did. So I mean, with infinity, with the knowing that you do. So you have to realize a thing when you're looking at it. How else can I look at this? And amazing things will happen. We play with clouds when we're driving. We'll look at clouds. And it took us a while to see images, but we see a dog or a unicorn or whatever we want to make out of it. And she'd see it one way and I'd see it another till we started letting go and letting it just flow through us. And then we saw the same thing at the same time in the same moment because clouds change every 30 seconds. But we thought we can see things together so that I'm not saying one thing and she's saying another. It's becoming centered, it's synergetic, right?
Yeah, energizing.
Synergizing.
Yeah.
So,
That's the faceting of the round crystal ball was faceted, so the different colors came out as the light shined.
well, yeah, as the light started to go through it, it went through a million colors of red till it got to pink, to orange to yellow. It all happened in a matter of seeming. That so it seemed to me, and so it seemed is a very important um, tool in your toolkit of languages. If somebody is trying to intimidate you or trying to get you to do something you don't feel comfortable with, never commit. If a salesman saying, there's a car you mentioned, didn't you say Ford or didn't you say Toyota? Yeah, but well, and your favorite color? Yeah, but and you can get sucked into buying that unless you, and the way it was trapped, you might find in salesmen by saying so it seems. Just say so it seems. That means you've broadened the scope to where you're not intimidating him and he's not intimidating you because you're saying, well, so it seems, and they can't catch you. So anyhow, that's another tool behind his lectures. We went to Holland, we went to Europe and so forth. But we were living where I was raised in Paradise, California. It's up in Northern California, above Chico, California, between Sacramento and Redding. And what am I saying?
November.
November 8th. We've been warned, I've been warned since I worked with Carr and I've been shut down. I've had several of my own mini labs shut down and stuff taken, and I've been threatened. And one night, Edgar created a noetic acid. Somebody didn't want us to speak, and they called us on the cell phone and said, "Don't talk to me because your whole family's you won't see him tomorrow." I mean, it was really, really heavy duty and a real hefty voice. Right away, I told Marsha, she was sitting there, and I said, well, when I tried to find the phone number, it was all zero. I'll find out who made this call. And he said, well, they manipulated it to all zeros because that's not us. That's not. So I said, go on, talk and dress. And then all of a sudden, a feeling came over Marsha, and she fell. She just flopped down, man, and started to couldn't move, and she was having a lot of problems. And I said, well, I'm not going to go to the talk. And she practically pushed me out the door. She says, I'll be with you and come back. So I went to the talk. I started the talk. I said, my wife's in trouble. I'm in talk with her, and she would like me as soon as possible to come home with some help. I took to lift her up and take her to the hospital. And when they got into the hospital, they ran. Well, can you tell that part of it?
Yeah, I started vomiting and I could not stop. And I wasn't sick at all before that. Anyway, they took me to the hospital and they, gave me shots of trying to stop the vomiting, which exploded way down, but they couldn't finish the x-rays because people start vomiting. Well, there was a female doctor and she says, I need to take them in for surgery. And I said, no, I know I don't need surgery. And I said, why don't you go in the hospital before? And finally said, I want to go home. And the doctor said, okay, go home, but you're going to come back. And when you come back, I'm going to take you right into surgery. And so I said, okay. And so I went home
knowing that she's not about to get served.
and I never went back, and I'm fine. But I think that it was some kind of a
It was another approach.
attack on my.
They used to call us and just tell us the truth. And our protection is just truth. When you have truth and you're using truth, you can spot something 500 miles away come because it doesn't make sense.
Quadruple bypass on his birthday on September 20th.
That's the day Carr died too.
2016.
I was on the operating table going into surgery.
I don't think it was the same year.
Not,
But
no.
anyway, on November of 2018, we got a call, and they told us this. Then we got another call, and Ralph was on the phone with the bank. They said he had been frauded. His bank account had been frauded. So he's working on the account on that, and we get another pound on the door, and we go to the door. Ralph came with me, and the fire is the ambers are falling in our front yard in our trees. So the fire is right across the street.
And we saw these blue rays of energy coming out of the sky right into the woods. And I watched one hit a tree. Nothing happened, except about 30 seconds later, the side of the tree opened up, the bark fell off, and the tree was burning from the inside instead of the outside. So I said, this isn't a natural fire. There's something we don't know about going on here. And then we heard all kinds of, there were a lot of nuts like me living in paradise. I mean, we were kind of our own.
Well, anyway, we did escape the fire. It took us almost 5 hours to get across town, which usually would take us 20 minutes. And we actually had to go through a wall of fire, but on the other side of that, we decided that we weren't done yet. God wasn't finished with us yet, and so, but we lost everything except our car and the clothes we had on.
And our dog.
And our dog. Yeah.
But the thing that I was doing, and I compiled it for weeks, I was putting all of Tesla's stuff together that I had. This is handwritten documents, handwritten letters and things, and car stuff, putting it together for the museum that was being constructed in Colorado Springs. And I packaged them up, and I put discs, and I put all of paperwork and everything in these huge little boxes to send, and I had them sitting on my desk right by the door. I was on my way to the post office, but we had to get out so fast. I just grabbed my wallet, and you grabbed my med pills, and we grabbed the dog, and we got out, and I didn't get those boxes, so they burned in the fire, and they were incredible.
Some of that information was original, handwritten notes from Carr and from Tesla.
Yeah.
These papers had come to us through a lady that knew one of Carr's groups.
Oh, when she was in Reno? Is that the one?
She was in Gardnerville, yes.
Oh, Gardner. Yeah, that's. Oh, Reno or
and his wife had that information.
Yeah.
Anyway, we had gotten that and not had copies of it, and 4 packs sitting on the desk, and we were, that was the original and everything.
That's the thing that I disliked the most. That I had to. That would have been a gift from Tesla himself to get that stuff in the museum and show the simplicity. He was always saying it's simple. Don't go anywhere past simple. If you start thinking, well, I can do this, if, no, go back to simple. If it's simple, look at it a different way, and you'll see how simple things are. So I wasn't the only one in paradise. There's a lot of people like me, and they don't like us. They don't like people like me. And when I started igniting from the inside, and later I talked to the forest barber, and he said, "No, that's not a natural fire." Then I felt, well, there's something here that isn't quite right, and they want to just kind of do away with paradise for a while, and so they did. But we didn't regret a moment of it. We lost everything. I mean, I had all my life, everything there, and all my work.
So, hey, Ralph and Marsha, I got a message here from Susan Cano, a very important message. She says, "Thank you for surviving the Paradise Fire."
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It was, but we left, and to fund all my work over the years, I started a locksmith business, and I worked as a locksmith from 1974 to 2000. I worked my way up to where I was the locksmith for Las Vegas, Nevada. I did all their locksmithing work and their safe work and everything else to supplement my lab work. I'd go to work. I was my own boss, so I could call the shop, and I always had a laboratory wherever I went. So I was putting things together, and it afforded me the luxury of being able to do that every day because I was my own boss. I didn't have somebody. I don't like to be told what to do. So
all of that was lost in the fire.
it was all lost in the fire.
And thank you, Walter, for sending us some gifts and things that you had.
Yeah, that's the only thing we got
That's
now
a
is what
blessing.
you helped us put back together.
Thank you so much for that.
We're-
So it's such a blessing.
Yeah,
and
that's-
thanks again.
starting a new library. And we're living a different life now. We came out of paradise into what I'm calling, and I mean this, I really do, into a state of heaven here where we're at, because we live in Green Valley, Arizona, which is 15 miles just lower side, southern side of Tucson, Arizona, and it is green year round. I mean, rich, rich green. They have pecan groves here that go for miles and miles and miles, and they produce oxygen. There's a lot of growth here. It's all green.
It's a desert, but it's a very greenish desert. And since this year we've had, I think, normal monsoons, which we didn't last year at all. But anyway, it is so green now.
Yeah.
And we were talking to a lady that had lived here 30 years ago, and she said this is how it always used to be. So,
And it is beautiful. And we live in a village. It's actually Green Valley is a village. It's a village you find out in the middle of nowhere, and that's where we're at. We don't have or actually invite law enforcement people into our village unless we ask them, and it's important that they come, because we have the sheriff's department, which are known as peace officers, and they'll go into any situation solving it, or they even have to think about arresting or intimidating the people, because they are of the idea, be nice to people, you'll get more with honey than vinegar or something. And so we've got a zero uh, crime rate here. It's all manicured. I don't know how they do it, but for miles and miles, it's manicured, beautiful palm trees and flowers everywhere. And so I said, well, this is like heaven, and everything's coming to us because once you start this ball rolling of being instead of thinking, things just happen. You mentioned, God, I'd like to see that, and the next day somebody will come over and bring it to you, or manifesting. And but it's become now where we're fine tuning it. We're learning how to do it. All you have to do is put love in your intention. Wherever you're going, put love in your intention, and it has to be that way. You say so. You're the creator.
Just like the how do you bring mind into heart? You just feel it, and again, you can feel the love, or you can feel the right direction in your being. After you get up in the morning, after you don't plan anything, but we feel.
Yeah, we feel our way, and it just feels wonderful because everything we do is fun. Everything we do is just, oh man, I've been wanting to do this. And while that's come up, we just received a letter yesterday from the daughter of Einstein. Einstein wrote this letter. Walter, I'll forward that to you, and you can put it on your website for everybody to download. A beautiful letter from Einstein to his daughter, saying all his work, all his time he was here, he went through everything you can imagine to everything you can imagine. But at the end of the letter, he says the only thing that will ever work consistently and forever is love.
The power of love.
The power of love. So if you love what you're doing, if you don't love it, you better get another job or something because you're going to get into trouble. You get a job you love, man, you'll go in there and work for half the money because you're enjoying what you're doing. Like, exactly.
Hey Ralph, let me share a couple of the comments that are coming through here. At the top here, I have one from Captain Swan Wilson. He surmises that maybe your house was targeted in the Paradise Fire to remove all of your work. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah. Yes, we've had a lot of people uh, feel that way, and I don't honestly know, but when I saw that tree burning from the inside, I knew there was something there that is not a normal forest fire. And we had the hubcaps on. I had 3 vehicles in the driveway, and when we after the fire and we went back and looked at it, all the hubcaps melted like water all over the driveway. The way it melted and the way, and we had garbage cans made out of plastic, rubber and stuff sitting right there next to this enormous fire, and they never burned. They never even got singed. They were in perfect condition. And we asked the fire department. He said, "Well, that can't be that somehow they didn't know." So yeah, Paradise has been known for years. In fact, there's a book out on Paradise. What's the name of the book? Remember, we met him in Shasta? Yeah. The writer of the book. Something Venus something. Oh God, I'll send you the link if you want, Walter. But they say that it was intentional. That there was too many of us and getting too many other people influenced by what we were attempting to do.
Well, actually, in this book, I have a copy of it here. We have a copy of it. In this book, he was going to Paradise in the 1950s, and they were meeting with a lot of people. There were a lot of sightings and contacts from the other world, and they also think that they there were people there that lived there from the other side, from the other world, and they were going to come out and say who they were. And I think David Wood did
Yeah.
quite a video on the whole thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it wasn't just us, it wasn't just Ralph, but there were other reasons in that area. It's really quite amazing that the city, Paradise, is not helping people to rebuild there. They're really they're really causing a lot of problems and not helping the
So
people.
we're wondering what other things we can learn, because it's just not the old Paradise. But I was raised there as a kid, and I grew up there, and it's completely different now. So yeah, well, I suppose if you're doing something that is against the grain, and we were told that when we went to General Motors with our ideas, we wanted a manufacturer. We had got the prototypes. We went to General Motors, and we were called outlaws. Well, I guess I could run that by real fast. We had completed all our work on the prototype, and we had them moving around Apple Valley like crazy. We'd have 2 or 3 or 4 of them at a time. And people would see these and they just thought they were flying saucers and stuff. And one of the persons that was there,
Small.
yeah, these are small,
Like what, 18?
12 inches. We were just experimenting. And one of the people that remembers it well was James Gillihan. He has a accepting organization.
That's James Gilliland of the ESETI Ranch, ESETI.org. So he was a witness to this craft flying around, and back in 2011, you and I had a interview with him. So that's on my website. People can learn more about what Ralph's about to talk about. Go ahead, Ralph.
Well, okay, well, then,
You're talking about going to GM.
oh,
General Motors.
yeah, so we got to the point, we said we're ready for a manufacturer. So our PR man, whose name was Wayne Aho, he was a colonel, colonel in intelligence, Army intelligence or whatever. And when the UFO thing started, and they knew what was going on, and they told they told Aho and all the people around him to not release any of this information to the public. Aho said the public's got a right to know this, and I'm gonna put in my resignation and go out and tell people there's more here than they're telling you, and they're taking advantage of you by not telling you. So anyway, he came and got on board with the Otis Carr Foundation, and what was I going with?
And he got a presentation with General Motors.
Oh, yeah, I talked to James Gillihan that he says, I remember I wanted to go, I was seeing them all the time, and I asked my mom, I want to go over there and see what they're doing. And she said, no, that's dangerous. Those guys are weird. You're just, it scared the heck out of him. But he saw them, and along with the 2 police officers, which is documented, we got an email from 2 police officers that saw our coming down, getting out, doing our thing, and disappearing. Along with that, Gillihan had seen that. I don't know how he saw it, but he saw that.
But you're off the track. You were talking about going to General Motors.
Oh shoot.
Okay. And then,
yeah, I gotta apologize. We went to General Motors with a little 12-inch spacecraft, and if you've ever seen the movie Battery Is Not Included, those little guys are about the same thing that Carr had. He put it in his valise. We met in Riverside, California, and he brought a couple of physicists, some engineers, and other people to listen to it. And Carr said, no, we just want you to think about raising the ways we transport things. That all we want to do is take the wheel from the vertical position, which is ruining everything. It's running over animals, it's running over our gardens, and our trees are being pulled and pushed up and making super highways. You don't need that. We want to. You hear that? Oh, water. Um, so we just want to get off the ground, and people can still have their Maseratis or their Corvettes, but we want to do it gradually. So a gradual thing for people that would like to get off the ground. And when you're in the craft that we were designing and building, you can have it as big as you want. You can have it as big as 10 football fields if you want. You can have it huge. You can have running water. You can have farms. You can have horses and cows and everything that we have here there, because we are creative beings, and done in the right appropriate place at the right time, you can have anything. So went to General Motors
to see if they could manufacture.
and they said, wait a minute, you guys are talking airy fairy stuff here. And what is your fuel, and what are you doing with it? It's magnetism. I said, everything is magnetic. We're not using it. We're using the idea, the concept of electromagnetism, but they have yet to understand what magnetism is. And
so Carr opened the.
so he opened his little valise, and out came this little craft, and went all around, and these guys got all excited. And they looked. We had the top of it with Lexan plastic. You could look in the cockpit, and they said, "Where's the ignition switch? Where's the steering wheel?" We said, "No. This is being done by us." And what do you mean by you? Take your jackets off. And they scanned us for remotes and everything. And remotes were rare in those days. But they said, no, we're just collectively using our mind, not our brain, but our mind, to focus on showing you a demonstration. And these crafts can't have accidents. No more accidents. You can't have weapons on it, not because you don't want them. They're useless. There's no use for weapons, because everything in the craft is synergetic with what you're doing, meaning you're at one with the love of doing it and the love of being it with the craft that also has a consciousness of its own, which you tap into when you're loving working with it. So,
and because it's magnetism, it won't run into other craft or anything like that. It's all.
And he said, "Wait a minute, that's getting too close to wait. If you have this magnetism doing all, where's your maintenance? Oh, it's maintenance free. Well, where's your this and that? Well, that's all taken care of." He said, "Wait a minute, you're putting us out of work. We got hundreds of thousands of people all over the world working for us, and you're going to have me?" No, I don't think so. And he said, "You guys are outlaws. You're attempting with this thing, whatever it is, with a monetary system, and General Motors will have to say no to your ideas." And I said, "Well, if you had all those people that are toiling for a living, that punch a time clock every day, and then they work hard and they go home and they're so tired, all they can do is go to bed and repeat. All their whole life is a repeat. If you gave them a craft that would be habitation and their transportation, and they could go anywhere they want and stay there a few inches, a few feet, or a few miles, or a few thousand miles away from the planet, they would not. You'd never have any wars. You never have anybody, because you're giving them everything they want, everything they need is there for the use. But So he said, no, you guys, you um, get out of here. I'm gonna,
Mr. Carr,
if you put them up, we'll shoot them down. You can't,
Wow.
you don't belong in this system. So later, you know, when I was talking, I was giving lectures and talking, I brought this subject up, and for a while I didn't have a way to explain it, so I created, I need something to show people, because you can talk about it all day long, but if you don't show them, you're not going to get the right picture. So what happened, somebody out of the blue sent me a video, and this is on YouTube. Well, this is on just general internet. The Minnesota University of Minnesota, uh, in their science department, uh, created an experiment called mind over mechanics. You can look this up. It's still there. I just saw it yesterday on our website, so I know it's still there. And what this is, this Asian, or maybe he was Oriental, scientist, brilliant scientist, created this machine, device that operated with a skull cap put on top of a person's head that had diodes all over it, and on the screen like you see in the hospital, the bar screen, you could tell where he was indicating and so forth. All he had to do was operate this little thing. It would take off, turn somersaults, go upside down by his mind. That's all. And then we saw later, now pilots can do this. They don't have to even think about what they're doing because they're using their mind. And
I guess they look up or look to the side or turn their heads. Or
the way they're getting away with it, we would have, if that was in cars ballpark, they would have shut us down immediately because that shows a simple principle. You can operate things wirelessly. You can operate things with your mind if you know how. And then we saw later pilots. Now pilots in planes can do this with a skull cap, but they can fly the plane with their mind. So now it's vindicated the idea that you can't do it. So they kicked us out, and that gave us a 2-week tip-off that the gendarmes or the Gestapo or whoever, the FBI, was going to be showing up. So we had to get the 45-foot craft ready for a demonstration, which we mentioned before, ready for operation. And the General Motors went home just thinking we were a bunch of crooks.
And 2 weeks later, the FBI and
they came in with a couple of truckloads, 10-bys is what we used to call them when I was in the Army, but these big trucks were loaded with soldiers, armed soldiers on both these trucks. I mean, what the heck are they doing here? And then in came these cars, black cars, and people jumped out of them with badges of FBI, CIA, or whatever it was, and said, we're ceasing and desisting you, don't do any more, we're here to shut you down, we're going to confiscate everything. And Carr said, what? Well, we're just hobbyists, we just want to operate with our hobbies and stuff. What are you talking about? You're attempting to overthrow the monetary system of the United States because you're working with magnetic, which isn't here yet. And so they shut us down. Anything else? I don't want to. I don't want to over about an hour and a half.
Wow.
Okay. So we're going to try to be tonight. It's been a pleasure to enlighten, if it's taken that way, enlighten people that there's more than they ever dreamed of that's going on right now that we don't know about, and we have to get from a closed system, which is what they call for your own good. What is it? Oh God. Um, Security. What is that? God, I can't think today. We don't have to have anything in secret. Everything belongs to everybody. And then we put it into a secret place and say that's for your own safety. We are protecting you by not letting this information out. Is not true. They don't know that they're so far ahead if you are monitoring any of the television uh, stations. You'll see we've been on Mars for quite a while already. So they don't want you to know all this stuff because it's going. And in the underground, you heard about the underground system. There's the honeycomb. It goes on for thousands and thousands of miles. Things down there and stuff. So all being cleaned up by what's being called the white knight. They are giving people the opportunity to change their ways from hurting people, from causing misinformation to be brought out. They're giving the opportunity because what they're doing is treasonous because they're interfering with the constitutional rights of people and so forth.
And truth.
And
truth.
Yeah.
We
And
need to go back to truth.
we have to go back to truth. So this big thing that we're seeing happening to us is a part of this big change. We've got to go back to transparency, where we know what our brothers and sisters are doing, and they know what your uncles and aunts are doing. But you still have privacy. Privacy is privacy, but not in the general way of what the general public needs to know. That's all transparent, and it's supposed to be that way. And the cloud working in the fields all over the world. They're in Morocco, they're in Peru, oh my gosh. And they years ago, paradise, well, actually going forward with their stuff because they would present a device video. If you want to ever put that up for your audience, you're welcome. It's just a little device with wood and sticks. It's it operates the fan, and that's all it is. Which is transitioning to, I know, different fields of understanding, but it's working. They don't want those kind of things shown to people because they say, well, wait, if that works, why couldn't this? And so forth. And then they'll get around the, well, it's because that's a small one. But you get into power, you're going to need more. You just multiply it by the principles of mathematics. You exactly replicate the principle, and it will build all the power you want. And
exciting time, and
yeah,
and we're all here
so
for
they're
a
in
definite reason.
they're all in seclusion now, waiting for. And the last thing that I was talking about in all my lectures was, well, where are these craft? You got like, well, I didn't say craft per se. I'm saying the principle of free energy is available. Yes, there are craft also available, and some of them cannot be seen because we haven't got the retina and the cones are nothing. That's the physical reality. So when you have a craft, you have a multi-dimensional reality, and they can be felt before they're seen, and if you are seen, it's you. There's no accident. But
They're in that frequency.
yeah,
Vibration that frequency of the writing.
right. All of them. No, I used to say they're waiting in the wings, and he goes, "What's the wings? What do you mean the wings?" The wings are we the people. We have been trying to give this stuff for years and years and years back to people, and always been rejected or stopped. Now they are put on notice. They are the wings. They are the people that have to say, I've had enough lies, I've had enough not working. I want to see what these guys are boasting about that they've been working on in these pods all over the world. And the guys are in a still motion. They're just waiting for the people. And as soon as, and we have Dr., God bless him, Dr. Stephen Greer, well, in our uh, relationships on the disclosure products. And one of the things that he's most adamantly about is magnetism. He wants to expose that magnetism forever, but we just never used it. But now, holding the car, they're all getting nervous because the next step is magnetism, and we're going to have everything in the way of free and abundant energy everywhere forever, because you're going back into a reality which is forever state of, and what it could be any day. How close we are right now for disclosure. It could be within a couple of months, a couple of weeks, but things are so fast now that once we disclose we have had this for you for years and haven't been able to give it to you, they're going to want it now. And when they do, the doors are going to open, and then all these little guys that have been doing this all over the world are going to be happy to give to people the wherewithal to run everything without fear, without cost. And once it's together and operating on the principles of magnetism, everything will work forever, and you never have to worry about anything else. And that's where we are right now, and this is just about to happen if we don't blow ourselves up by those that want war, because they're still competing as who has the most marbles. and but they can't win, because if we don't go back to truth, we go back to lies, and nobody wants to live all through that stuff again. But some do, I guess. But it's not going to work, because truth is life. Anything short of truth is a simulation. It's a synthetic. It's not authentic. To live an authentic life, you have to be well balanced in who and what you are. You are basically a spiritual being, if you want to use the word spiritual, or mystic being, or you are beyond the body. And you have the body where your brain is operating hundreds of millions, billions, or trillion cells in your body to keep the body, the machine, active in the physical world. But it's an illusion, and it's disappearing faster than you can realize, because the illusion is being replaced by, I'll be dang, they're doing this. Helicopters was a wonderful breakthrough because they thought they could never do it. And the submarines now are going deeper and stuff. It's all progress beyond what they would prefer, because there's not a lot of money in some of the things that are being done.
No, I just thank you all for listening to our story, and thank you very much, Walter, for having us on again after many years. And and just thank you for everything. And I really feel like it's a wonderful time to be alive. We don't know how it's all going to turn out, but it is a new beginning for all of us. I really believe that.
And every you get a thought that doesn't feel good, throw it away. Throw it back in the past. And forget the past because it doesn't really exist. We think it does, but it doesn't. Or the future, it doesn't. The only thing you have is the now. And the now goes now, 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 forever. And you have the opportunity of perfecting now as it comes to you. And the way you perfect it is look at it and then feel it. Feel what it's doing to you, because everything is a divine gift that we have from the heavens above or whatever. And it needs to be appreciated. And the more you appreciate slowing down on things with your real life, the more they happen to you. And then you'll get to where what we're experiencing. Marsha and I are having a wonderful experience that we can't explain to anybody, because tell them we're doing it, they say, "Oh yeah, sure you are." But a good example is the yellow outhouse. Remember that? I was taking my daughter and Marsha over to North San Juan, the building on this retreat in Grass Valley. We're going the back roads and everything, and my daughter and Marsha had to use the restroom, and we said, "Oh my God, there's not no place here." I thought, I said, "Oh, okay, just wait a minute," and we came up to the road left, and as we turned left, we saw this big, uh, construction, blue, green, or whatever, bright canary yellow, sitting there on a beautiful lawn, beautiful grass, with a creek running along through it and a weeping willow tree, and then over there, the birds, I had the windows down, the birds were coming in my car, and I was having a wonderful time with them. But it was immaculate, wasn't it, honey? The inside?
Yeah, there was no dust. It was like, no, everything was immaculate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just the garbage cans were
brand new, never used.
Plastic. I mean,
it was just perfect. It was perfect situation. We'll have to catch it when we come back. So we went up and did our thing, and on the way back, which was only about 3 or 4 hours later, it wasn't there. We saw the place. It was just
there was
dirt,
no grass,
grass.
there was no creek, there was no no.
And that's a manifestation.
Yeah.
And it's that simple. When you really need something to happen, don't try to do it yourself. Let God do it. If you want to use the word God, some people don't like that word, but I do. Then let that energy that's running through you create it for you. And appreciation. Thank you. That was very nice. Let's see it on the way back. Well, it wasn't there on the way back. But now we knew it was nothing to do with the human efforts. It was all done by our manifesting. And we have hundreds of those happen to both of us. They're all real. They're just.
I think everybody has them, but so many times we don't think, or we don't realize, we don't accept them as our creation. And I believe that if we all start looking at our experiences, we'll see that we are creating our own wonderment as we go through life.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I want to thank you guys for listening to it. If you're still there, and if you're not, you're on with Walter Wallows. Oh, he's got a wonderful thing. He was the one that got us the photographs and things to go to the Netherlands to talk, and that was one of the best talks we've ever had in the Netherlands. But he set up, took the videos to introduce us to the Netherlands, and he's always been effective in our lives, helping us, even though he was very skeptical. Mm-hmm. And I don't blame him a bit, because if somebody was telling me what I'm just telling you, I would be very skeptical to buy any of it. And that's another thing. Don't buy anything that the humans tell you. Don't take it all. Mm-hmm. Because none of it's true in its essence. The only thing that's true is it's not true. It's, I know it's not nuts, but it's an illusion. We're living in a hologram. We're living in an illusion. And that's what it is. And if you put any stock in it, like believing, well, this guy, I've known him for 50 years. He's not going to mess me up. I'm going to let him hold my $100,000 car for a day and trust him with it. Next thing you know, the car's gone and he's gone. And what happened? You can't trust anything in the human nature unless you go to your transcendental state of consciousness. That means you're operating from your soul, and you can see through anything false instantly. Nobody can ever lie to you without knowing it. You know, we think we can do this, but to really know it well is when you change your way of looking at it, and you see, well, if that happened that way, this couldn't happen this way. You see right through it. So then you build your life on a foundation of truth. Instead of, I'm supposed to believe what he told me. No, you don't. No, you don't have to believe anything that you don't feel is believable.
Well, I can tell you, Ralph and Marsha, that this has been really nice the last couple of hours doing this. I think we do need to wrap it up for now. Maybe we do this another time. I want to kind of coattail a little bit on what you said about being skeptical. I looked at my skepticism not so much as skepticism, but more critical thought. And I've said this before in a lot of the comments that I've posted, is that I sit comfortably on the fence. And I don't decide whether something is true or not until, I know for absolutely certain whether it is. Okay, let me just get rid of this. Okay, let's come back over here. Sorry guys, bear with me. I found the source of the echo. All right. So as I was saying, I'm getting an echo again. I'm going to mute, Marsha, Ralph, I'm going to mute you for just a second. Okay, so as I was saying that I want to coattail what Ralph and Marsha was saying about being skeptical. I'm not skeptical, I'm critical. I do have critical thinking. I spent 8 years passively trying to develop a team to research and develop a functional craft. I had people attracted to me through the YouTube channel who were actually engineers, electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, people who work for space agencies, actually, and not just NASA. There are people who work for defense agencies, there are people who are specialists, people who are retired specialists. I've got aeronautic mathematicians, and so forth, people who have access to materials, people who have access to services, and really it was quite interesting that here I had attracted just through my YouTube channel people who had an interest, a keen interest in constructing a craft, but we always put the brakes on. The engineers who were at the core of my team when it existed were primarily interested in coming with a plan to figure out how to make the hardware operate first. The updates that I provided on my YouTube channel were limited only because we didn't want to send people down the wrong path. We didn't want to send people, go over here and do this. This is what we're searching now. There's some positive indications, but all this stuff costs money. It takes time. So our ultimate goal, the whole goal of our team, of our pod, was to research and develop a device that was functional. Not only functional, but also peer-reviewed, documented, and released as open source. In the 8 years that I was involved in a pod, the guys on my team had encountered some anomalies, things that we couldn't explain, but were also very dangerous. You know, are we going to release that out to the general public? Hell no, because we don't want people getting killed over this stuff. You know, it is dangerous stuff. Just electronics alone, there's enough in there that's lethal if you, especially when you don't know what you're doing. Condensers, capacitors, coils, all this stuff can be lethal if you don't know what you're doing. You're just mucking around with it. So that's why we didn't release a lot of stuff. And I only released things that I had permission to, just to be clear about all this. Now, back in 2018, I walked away from the pod that I had created because certain things had transpired that I can't even go into and tell you because it would reveal too much, okay, about things. And Ralph's talking about truth. Maybe one day I'll go into the fine details. In one-on-one situations, I've explained to some of you exactly what's happened. I've told Ralph and Marsha exactly what happened and why I walked away, and it really has nothing to do with people involved in the pods. In fact, they were disappointed when I told them I had to leave. So, you know, if you want to build a pod, go in knowing that you just got to be careful, whatever you do. Ralph mentions pods around the world. Personally, I don't have access to those groups. I had my own group. Is it possible to build a group? Yeah, you can. I'm not an expert. I'm not an engineer. Neither is Ralph, but it can be done. You know, if you find people who are passionate enough, who know something about electronics, magnetism, and all the Tesla patents and science and the woo-woo stuff, then you might find somebody who can help you build the craft. There was a question that came out about extraterrestrials. Karen Kinsley had asked this question, and she and I've talked about this at length already. I'm going to share it with you guys again. She asked, in your opinion, are most inventors of advanced technology working with off-worlders and their knowledge? And I will tell you right here now that they are involved. That's firsthand knowledge. You know, if you set yourself on a path where you want to develop this thing, you want to build something, and you're serious about it, you know, you get here. If you've got the wherewithal, if you already have the knowledge, if you have some engineering knowledge, and this coattails on what somebody else asked me about, what do I need to study and learn in order to build a functional craft? In my opinion, physics, electronics, mechanical engineering. You will be primed and ready. Also, you want to develop your consciousness. You'll be primed and ready to receive inspiration, knowledge from wherever you want to call it, to put together something that could work. And that's the path that every person on my team has had some kind of conscious experience like that, okay? You know, every person on my team had some flavor of contact experience. Call it what you will, but I had to walk away. I couldn't continue doing it. If you want to write to me, if you want to share information with me, I'm still open to receiving that, and I will interface with you. Feel free to contact me. I don't have a problem talking to you, but I can't continue doing this anymore. I just can't. But for anybody else who does, here's your message of warning and caution, but also encouragement that I think it's possible, that it can be attained. And with that, I'm going to unmute Ralph and Marsha and switch back over to them. Ralph, Marsha, do you have any final words before we go?
Your answers are inside, not outside. So if you ever have a question to yourself or questioning somebody else, don't expect an accurate answer until you check your road. Like that's what Walter does. He knows enough the difference between which is reality or which is authentic and which is synthetic. And all the answers are in you already, and nobody can tell you if you use it. But you want to rely when they say, "Oh yeah, I did it and I worked it and it doesn't like, oh, this guy, I don't think he's there." Then don't believe it. Just kind of back until somebody, presents it right in front of your eyes, or not even your eyes, just your sense of reality, a sense of truth. And that's what's happening now. And the next 40 years, this is going to be a different world, totally different. And that based on the rapid pace that everything is going in right now, and the ability for people to keep the invisible world alive and well, because that's where all the life is in the invisible world. We're just the we're just the hologram. We're just the images. And um, but our soul is in the real world. And when we start using truth, then you expose what you
You just listen to that inner guidance. That inner guidance will lead you. And if truly, truly wanting to create um, anything, really, it's already been created. Hovercraft, all of them are already created.
Yeah.
So you can tune in to that creation, to that oneness, and actually be part of another team, like it's like Walter said, you can be part of the team that does do something along those lines, or does tune in and actually create the spacecraft. You know that if we stay in truth and we listen to our inner guidance and follow.
Okay, with that, I think it's okay. Remember to unmute the mic this time. On that note, I think that's a good place to end. Ralph and Marsha, again, thank you for joining on this live stream. And for those of you who are interested in writing to me, you can find me at walter@clandestinedisclosure.com. I put it down in the chat session. My website is clandestinedisclosure.com. It has not been updated since I walked away, but it still does contain some key documents and information that we were working on at the time. We are not recruiting. My team's not recruiting. You'll see out there, oh, wanted. Ignore that. But go ahead. You can see. You can see the documents that are out there: Dimensions of Mystery, Atoms for Peace, the OST Cars patent for an amusement device which shows the craft. There's also the toy kit plans. All that's out there for you to try. That's what was left over. That's what we had to work from. I got that out of Ralph's white binder. Okay. So you can see it too. With that, I'm going to go ahead and say thank you, and we'll talk to you guys next time.